To call this meeting to order. The mission of Tyler County Schools is to provide student-centered learning opportunities that ensure all students will learn to their potential and master the skills, ethical behaviors, and attitudes needed to be successful citizens in a 21st century economy. I would like everybody to stand who's able for a moment of silence and the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I will take the roll call. All board members except Scott Strode are present, and he's working this evening. Next on our agenda for this budget workshop is the budget workshop.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'll try to keep it maybe a little bit lighter than I did last year. We'll kind of give you the state of the economy for the school system this year, where we're at, where we're going, where I believe we're going. As I mentioned last year, and you'll see that in slides, the year that we're in right now, 2025, is an anomaly for tax reasons, for the assessed values, oil and gas production, based on 2 year ago values, was $8-9 gas, which you'll see here in a minute, and you'll see the reflection of what $2 gas looks like versus $8 gas, because it is reflective in our budget. I'm not going to go through the mission, core beliefs. We believe students come first. We believe students must be prepared. We believe that students and staff must be healthy and ethical, and we believe in the importance of the school and community interaction. Budget is an estimate of income and expenditures for a set period of time. A budget really is just a tool. We expect that we're going to receive so much income in a year, and this is expected how we're going to spend it. It's by no means exactly how much money we're going to receive, and by no means exactly how much money we're going to spend within a year. It's just simply a tool for us to use to track, throughout the year, and then track, whether we need to reduce employees, add employees, or whatever. It's really just simply a tool is all it is. Budget timeline, we are April 28th, we are at the budget workshop. Next step is May 5th will be the completion approval of the preliminary budget. On May 6th, the budget will be made available to the public, which will be published in the newspaper on May 7th and May 14th. On the 19th of May, there will be a public hearing on the budget, and that will be the final budget that night as well. And then on May 20th, the final budget documents submitted to the state. Has to be submitted to the state before May 31st. Revenue, again, kind of hard to see the blue state revenue line, but 90% of our money is made up of local taxes. Nothing new from last year to this year. Still, majority of our revenues coming from local tax revenue. Local revenue, $46 million this year, $20.4 million from the regular levy, $24.5 million from the excess levy, which makes up, taxes make up approximately $45 million of our total. Other local income, $1,028,000. State allocations, $4.8 million. The carryover, and I'll get into that in minutes, we're only showing $250,000. Total is $51.1 million is the budget for this year for the general fund. Here's Mr. Adams with plain games with kids. Kids love Mr. Adams. The property tax classifications, the classes of property, and this is class 2 is what we look at as your personal property, your owner-occupied residential property. It's your homes and things like that. Class 2 would be production if you own the mineral rights on the home or on the property that you own would fall under class 2 versus class 3. Class 3, of course, would be production, oil and gas, corporate taxes and things like that. All commercial property is class 3. Class 4 is municipality. All real estate inside a municipality that is not taxed as class 2 or 3. Here's what I was talking about. Numbers assessed value wise. Actually, I see an error on the slide. $7.4 billion is the assessed values for 2025. The assessed values in 2026 is about $2.7 billion. It's a loss of, the loss is correct, it's $4.465 billion loss in assessed values. Wood County Schools assessed values, $4.5 billion. So we lost Wood County Schools this year in assessed values. How is property assessed? Property is assessed 60% of its fair market value. So if it's a $100,000 property, it would be based at $60,000. The county assessor assesses personal property and real estate property. However, the state tax commissioner does all of the oil and gas production and oil and gas minerals. This is I went over this last year, the oil and gas, how is it assessed? And it's based on, it's an income-based approach, depending on the mineral interest that you receive. Taxes are assessed based on the income-based approach for what the property values are believed to be worth. That's the largest reason for the decrease in taxes for 2026 is because of the lower production values that people received. I'll show you that slide here in a minute, the gas price difference. Next slide. The best economic indicator for the school system, especially if you're in Tyler County's situation, is the Henry Hub natural gas prices. If you look between 22 and 23, our assessed values are 2 years lagging. So in 2025's assessed values, $7.4 billion, is based on that between 22 23. Look at the big high peak in gas prices. This is where we were, seeing $8 to $9 gas, probably averaged $8 gas. If you look between 23 and 24, that is what the budget is based on this year. So we were, $2.50 gas. Never got above, looks like about $3.50, $3.60, and so therefore the assessed values, going from $8 gas to $2.50 gas is, the difference in the assessed values. The primary difference in our assessed values is based on the production of oil and gas and the payments that people receive and tax accordingly. So if you go into the future, 24-25, where were we at in 24-25? And they're actually lower, yet in 24-25. So what that tells me is, barring all other, new wells added, things like that, barring that, it looks like 2027's budget will be less than what it is in 2026. Again, we suffered, $4 billion loss in assessed values. I would say very likely, extreme likelihood that our assessed values will decline even farther in 2027. In 2028, the outlook is that gas is, about $4 right now. So there is an improvement, looking ahead to, looking way ahead in 2028. We're 5 months or 4 months in to the year. So we'll, all indication that I've heard, we're probably going to hover. We're going to stay with natural gas prices about where we are right now, in the $3 to $4 range. So I see a little bit of a rebound in 2028. What is the economic outlook of the Marcellus shale drilling? This is just a search on it. Right now, they're saying that annual growth reported in 2025, which is true to the graph I just showed you, about 5.1%. Potential for oil and gas production in 25. Continued performance is strong for all the byproducts that we receive off of it. Again, 2025 will be a little bit stronger than it was in 2024. The Utica shale gas is the next layer, below the Marcellus shale. If you look all the way out to they're saying 2930, that they still believe that the market will still be climbing or steady in 2029, 2030. How has the assessed values, changed over the last several years? You see back to 17, 18, we had a 12% decrease. This 24-25 or 23-24 is where you've seen a huge increase. It went to 148%. Then in 24-25 it was a 62% increase. But after 148% increase, it was a pretty big jump. 60% decrease in overall revenue for assessed values for this year. Revenue. So we talked about the assessed values. So what does the revenue side of it mean? The regular levy reduction is $34.6 million, and the special levy revenue is a reduction of $40.9 million. Total revenue loss after uncollectibles, and that is $71.3 million next year. This is just these were the levy order and rate sheet with the values, the same values. Total revenue, projected net tax revenue next year for Tyler is $44.9 million.
It's be our share.
Counties that have an excess levy, there are 42 out of the 55 counties that have excess levies. 13 do not, and the 13 that do not are listed here on the screen. There are really no counties in our geographic region that don't have an excess levy. Probably the closest being Braxton, probably, or Barber. I don't think there's anyone really up there. Most of those are, towards the eastern panhandle side. The levy election was held in November 2022. It was approved by 66%. And I'm not going to read through each line item of the call. The levies voted on by line items of the levy call, and we follow the accordance of that call. The state funding formula. I go ahead and continue to do this slide because I just wanted to show you what we would receive if we were getting state aid, or the amount. Right now, $11.1 million is our total state aid. What happens is they look at the regular levy portion, whatever the regular levy portion is. If it's less than $11.1 million, then we would receive state aid for that portion. So Tyler's, if you go back to this slide, our regular levy is 20.4 million, and we are receiving 11. So we're still about 8 million above state aid. Very possible. Doddridge County this year, is very similar to us. Doddridge County is back to receiving state aid for 26. Given the look of the economy for 2026, it's very likely that we could be, I think we'll probably be right there, that we could possibly, back to receiving state aid, which ultimately means that we've lost, local revenue. Some of the state allocations, even though we receive no state aid, we still do receive state allocations. The retirement allocation is based on the employees that are that are funded in the funding formula. The retirement that they receive is $591,000. The unfunded retirement is just simply really an accounting entry. That's in and an out, $2,060,000. The PEIA allocation is to cover the employer share of the people that are inside of the funding formula. And there is a 14% increase across the board. That's employee and employer share of health insurance increases for county boards of education. For counties that, like Tyler, that is not receiving state aid, it is, or the number of employees that are over formula, the more employees you have over the formula, you're paying the 14% increase on that.
For every person.
Every person.
Every person.
Didn't the legislature increase the, how much PEIA insurance is for, it's almost doubled, didn't it?
Yeah, it's across the board. So for employees,
is
going to
it?
pay it too. Yeah,
Okay.
and there's no pay raise.
No.
Last year there was I think it was a 12% increase, but there was a statewide pay raise to combat that, and there's not this year.
Yeah.
So it's just a flat out reduction.
Can we do anything locally that just offset the extra they have to pay in their insurance?
You can, of course, increase local supplement. I don't have anything in the budget for a pay increase for employees. I left it alone. Last year we did do an increase across the board. It was $3,500. The state gave $2,460 and $1,400 to service, and we did a $3,500 across the board, which covered the state raise, covered their portion, and then ours was on top of that.
Jeff, excuse me for interrupting, but Governor Morrissey just announced this evening that he's going to call a special session to address the PEIA situation in West Virginia.
Yeah.
So it will be addressed, so stay tuned.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Again, the ones what you're talking about, do we raise salaries because we're 100% funded? Any pay increase that we give is 100%, our responsibility. We would bear all of it. Given the loss that we had this year and increasing last year, I did not put it in the budget for 26.
But what we had given last year is still.
Oh yeah, it's still
in
the
budget
same.
This year.
Yes.
There's no increase.
Right.
I think it's fair.
Yeah, this is a very bare bones budget. I reduced, I had to reduce 70, I had to reduce 70 some $1 million out of the budget. And, how do you do that? One, I took a lot of supply line items because we look at the levy call, I look at every line of the levy and what percentage of that call is to the revenue, and then, reduce each line item of that. So areas like instructional supplies, we decreased instructional supplies. The largest lion's share, and you'll see it here in a minute, is the capital project transfer. Last year we had $75 million transfer to capital projects. It's $8.6 million this year. So that's the amount of money that we're transferring for future projects. And I'm going to go into that here in a little bit greater depth. Medicaid, we continue to receive Medicaid money based on billable services for eligible students, approximately $269,000. That really hasn't changed a lot, and it's mainly used for, we use 2.5 positions out of it, and a lot of therapy type services, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and things like that are covered by that. Carryover fund details. In the budget, we're required to budget a carryover. However, for years and years, we have not. I just use a minimum carryover. I'm carrying over $250,000. What our true carryover was at the end of FY24 in the general fund, now this is total fund balance, this isn't unassigned. Our total fund balance at the end of FY24 in the general fund was $37 million. So I could, theoretically, I could carry over, put $37 million back in the budget, but it's really just going to stay in reserve or whatever. So this is the way we've always done it. The budget that you have before you and the budget that we've always done is based on the revenue that you're going to receive this year. It doesn't take into account all the money that we're holding, that we have in savings or that we're holding. And I put this line on there last year. The present cash and investments, this was as of, I think, Monday. We're sitting total cash and investments at $157.3 million, which is a pretty big number. We're earning some. Too bad the interest rates are on this leg going down instead of going up. So we're hanging on. We're really we're below 4% now on a lot of most of our stuffs. We're below 4%. Of course, all of our investments, whether it's at the Board of Treasury at the state or locally, is all secured by U.S. government-backed securities. It's 100% secure money, so you're not gonna gain the revenue that you would if you played the stock market. But I don't know if I'd want to play the stock market right now. Enrollment history, graphically, slight decrease in 2025, very slight decrease. I think there was 7 student decline, 1,184 students. But over the last 30 years, we've lost 549 students. Over the last 30 years, that number has not stopped. I probably could go back to 50 years, and the number is even larger, if you go back in time. The numbers, you ask, why are the enrollment numbers different than the previous one? These are current enrollment numbers. So I wanted to kind of show you where we are now. We are gaining students. We've continued to gain students, mainly at the middle school level and high school level. We're at 1,205 at second month. So in October, we were at 1,184, and today, or Friday, or whatever day I asked for these numbers, we're at 1,205. So we have climbed a little bit. I believe AA classification, yes. 350.
Yes.
I think that's what it was.
Sitting at 367. There's the allocation by grades, and the 6th grade class is is a whopper of a class. We had huge numbers. I had, when I was overwriting these, it is an absolute monstrous jump in sixth grade from, you know, one year to the next, especially if you look at that class size compared to, you know, even the ones coming up. Pre-K, kindergarten have been very low numbers, you know, 57, 62. So we really believe we continue to trend down. However, with the closure of Payton City, we are probably likely that we will pick up, you know, not likely, we have.
List on the May 5th is huge.
Yeah.
Of the people.
They're continue to hit the list. It's going to continue to drive enrollment. Enrollment, when we received state aid, was everything. Everything's based on enrollment. Enrollment now, I don't mean to say anything negative, it's just enrollment doesn't mean anything to us right now, because we don't receive state aid. So it's still important to, you know, to have good numbers when we do get back to the state aid numbers. But as of right now, we do not. Middle school awards. Expenditures. Where do the expenditures lie? 53% of our expenses is from salaries, 2% from utilities. All other really is 12.31%. Clearing accounts, 62.8%, and that's the transfer of funds, you know, to other accounts that we have to do. Salaries is 27.2 million of the 51 million total. Utilities 1.1 million. Clearing accounts is the 9.6 million, which is the capital project fund, and then the food service transfer makes up the $9.6 million transfer. All other expenses. If you remember way back for the new ones, this number, this 53.24%. Last year that number was 23%. If you look at any school system's salaries and fixed costs compared to your total budget, it's probably 89, 90% of the total, which is where we have always been. You know, most of your budget's spent on salaries, and then all other, you know, it'd be like we have, 5%, 2% left to spend on supplies and things like that, because the bulk of it. But with the increase in the budget that we have right now, the salary number is skewed. Is skewed quite a bit. This is the positions that we have. We have 154 positions, and I'm not going to read down through them, but we do have 154 positions, professionals, and we have 105 service positions presently. Again, you can see the number there, percent of budget. Last year, we're comparing, we have salaries and fixed costs, 27.2 million this year versus 29.0 million or 29 million last year, and the difference, you had 23%. But the bottom number is skewing the percentage. You had a $121 million budget last year versus a $51 million budget this year. Where do we fall based on number of professionals or positions outside of the funding formula? We're number 3. This is an important number to look at. We are 26.83 professional employees over the funding formula. The farther, once you don't receive state aid, or once you receive state aid, or counties that receive a large portion, or counties that have low assessed values, they have to keep that professional number very, very low, or try to be at 0 if at all possible. Because if you don't have an excess levy, or it's a small levy or whatever, the number of positions that you're outside of formula, you're bearing that through your levy. We are blessed with an excess levy here. And for that, we have 27 positions outside of the funding formula that we're paying for, basically out of the excess levy.
So explain to me then how Marshall County is 109 professionals over formula and we're only 26 and we have pretty much the same percentage.
But based on the number of students, enrollment, they have a higher enrollment.
Gotcha.
So yeah, they're 109 over. Look at same thing, Wetzel. And these numbers really haven't changed a lot in the last few years. I mean, we hover number 3, number 4 in the state. And if you look at the top 4 counties, they're all oil and gas counties. All 4 of those counties in 2025 did not receive state aid. You know, they have excess levies, large assessed values, and they're investing in people. And that's the way we are as well. We're investing in people. We're hiring interventionists and nurses and school resource officers and guidance counselors and positions that counties that don't have an excess levy can't afford to have. Elementary art and music and additional vocational teachers and all of that 27 positions are critical positions for us and make us why we are successful, make us what we are, is because we have that ancillary services basically. If you're don't mean to pick on any counties like Calhoun or counties that have no excess levy or a very low tax base, they don't have the positions that they're not afforded that ability to have nurses or an art teachers at the elementary level or music even at the elementary level. On the service side, Tyler's 5th on the service side. We are 24.66% or 24.6 over formula. We are the 5th. Again, if you look at the top 5 counties, again, all oil and gas county. I believe Brooks even considered in the Marcellus Shale up through Hancock and Ohio counties. But this is just, again, the top 15 counties. And we stay primarily right in this range. If our levy would happen to fail, what do you look at? You look at we're 25 over in service and you're 27 over in professional, and you cut to the formula. That's the way it works. Service, no different than teachers, additional instructional aides, custodians, cooks, maintenance workers, bus drivers, mechanics. Counties that don't have an excess levy are running, service is much more difficult to cut to formula. There are a few counties that are right at 0. You don't see it on this list because it's only the top 15, but there are counties that are no excess levy counties that are pretty well cut to the bones. And I travel around the state quite a bit, so I see counties that are like this, and the facilities, the difference in facilities are, if anybody's traveled around, you notice the cleanliness of buildings, not only the appearance of the buildings, but the cleanliness of it, and bus drivers, buses, things like that. It's pretty obvious if you. Reserve salaries and what's in reserve. Right now we are continuing to budget. The contingency is based on 5% of the general fund revenue. That contingency is what the state recommends, that we have a 5% reserve budgeted for 2026. It's 3.6 million. 2025, of course, much higher revenue. It's basically $6 million dollars in 2026. By program function, the largest share you see, again, because of the larger values, is skewed a little bit with the maintenance and facilities, and the transferred for capital projects makes our maintenance and facilities the highest area at 55.71, and then instructional, all your other programs is at 43.72. Here's the numbers, just in number form. Outside funding. Presently, the public libraries receive $45,000. Middleburn is at $45,000. No increase asked for. Middleburn Library, same, $45,000. No increase asked for. WVU Extension. Mrs. Boland's here. She could answer any question if you have any. Current allocation is $45,000. The requested allocation is $58,881. And basically, leave it up to you guys to tell me what you want to do. The clerical amount, if you see the first number, that is the present budget, and the one to the right is the proposed budget that includes the $13,881 increase. Right now, the budget is set, or the budget is in the budget at $45,000, but I can alter that. We have had the libraries and the extension agent see the same amount in the past, so it's really the will and pleasure of the board.
So is yours a clerical?
Yes, it's because of the request for additional funding for a program coordinator. So if you notice, the program assistant was zeroed out, and in that clerical, that would be the secretary's salary, the portion that the Board of or the County Commission matches, and then the other would be the new position I'm requesting, which is a program coordinator, which would be a county-based employee, but they would be they would have more teaching duties to help take
That
some.
would essentially be for the school.
Yes, help with programs. Yes, help with program support in the schools, because there's a lot of programs that I could offer the schools, but I just don't have enough time in the day. And I did increase the travel just a little bit because there's a chance that I might be up for a national award, and so I put that in there because if I'm up for that national award, then I would like to go to that conference in October, and so that's why I did increase that travel. The county commission did fund what I requested and actually gave me a little extra because of, I think they were trying to cover the PEIA increase for the county employees. They put that in there. But I'll be happy to answer any questions.
When do we act on it?
Normally what happens, instances like this, you would tell me to put in the budget increase or no increase, and then when I do the preliminary budget next week, I don't know because I have to turn the budget over so quick, it'll either, if you say I want to increase it, then I would change it before the final budget was approved. And then their budget line items are separate on the agenda. It'll be like final budget, it'll be all the ancillaries, it'll be the libraries, and then the WV extension, and then our final budget, even though it's all together.
Well, I think if we can afford it, having someone for programming in our schools, I think would be good. I mean, I know the programs that Julie does in our school are some of the favorites.
And I have lots more that I could actually offer if there were more hours in the day.
I helped her well, I was opening doors for her to bring her chicken embryos in the other day at the elementary school, so.
Right now, I'm doing 2 chicken embryology classes at Sistersville Elementary, and I'm also still teaching teen cuisine at the middle school. So,
That's great. We saw some of those chicken embryos when we were doing a tour.
okay.
Yeah. They weren't hatched.
At Borman?
Yeah.
Borman. Okay. They had a very successful hatch at
Oh,
Borman.
That's
good.
good.
I would say in favor of the increase.
I mean, if your recommendation is to increase it, then my recommendation would be to, you know, to make it 60,000 even, so it's just an even dollar amount, as opposed to an odd dollar. Not that that doesn't matter one way or another, you know, $1,200 difference, but
I think that would be fine if you think it is.
yeah, I mean, it's not gonna, it's the only number that, the number that it changes on the budget is the reserve number.
Okay.
So, you know,
Allocation.
whatever we were at, 3.6 million,
60,000, right?
you know, it's not, yeah, it's, we're not really,
Doing anything.
yeah, we're not really, it's not like you're adding, you know, giving a pay raise across the board for, you know, 250 people, that's, you know, $1 million or something. It's,
Yeah.
So are all of us in agreement?
Yes.
what about the other public, library allocations?
I wish Roseanne would have come. I know when I gave that report, she talked about losing money.
They are,
It's
there
already
is,
been cut.
there is great potential for them to lose money from the federal government. So part of their funding is, you know, federally funded, and I believe it's hitting them faster than it's hitting us. And I was gonna talk about the, you know, the federal funds and how it impacts us for 2026.
Jeff, in the past, have we not brought everything up equally?
We have, yeah, we
between
have.
the three
That's why I said that, because we've always, whatever, I don't think they haven't always been the same amount.
No.
But actually all three were different amounts at one time. But over the last, I don't know, five years or more, they've been, you know, a normal allocation. The libraries, of course, is part of the levy. So if you increase the libraries in the same, you know, that's adding money in the line item. The levy calls for money to be spent for the library, you know, so it increases the amount of money that we're spending towards the library. So it's not a negative thing at all.
Do you have a recommendation?
I would recommend if you're going to do one that you do
All three.
You do all.
That'd be great.
That'd be
Keep all
fine.
three equal.
They'll be happy.
Yes.
So you'll make them all 60?
Yes.
Yes. All right.
That's wonderful.
You're welcome.
No, thank you.
Some band students. Proposed changes. Again, very, very minor. I mean, we really don't, you know, the last several years we've had umpteen lists of increases, pay increases, and different things going on. I'm really not proposing any changes. It's kind of just, you know, we've seen a huge cut, and let's just steady it out here, see where we go from here. The only increases, and were mandated by the very first one, is the state mandates for third grade aides, which will go to 5 third grade aides, $275,000 price tag. Again, we don't receive state aid, so we bear the whole cost of that increase. The budget that you have before you tonight, all of that is already included in that, you know, in that budget, because we have to have them. They're in the budget, so there's no change. There won't be any difference in the numbers that I give you on the.
So does it increase, like, this year it's third grade, is next year fourth grade? I mean, are they going?
I can't Suzette would probably be able to answer that a little better than.
I'll ask her now.
I think it was only supposed to go to third grade,
Okay.
but, you know, yeah, very likely.
Probably mandated it.
I think it's just it was pre-K 3. I think at the last board meeting or board meeting before, Boys and Girls Club is doing the operation of the School Day Plus. This is new to the budget. It is in the budget at $45,000, and I guess the question is, I would probably leave it at $45,000. The Boys and Girls Club. They're supposed to operate under grant or look for additional funding. I'm not sure how that's going, but I think bare bones they can continue to offer the School Day Plus program within our facility at $45,000. And then the extension proposal we just mentioned. Salary averages. Where are we salary wise in Tyler County? Everybody thinks, you know, that we're paying this huge exorbitant salaries in Tyler. We're not scraping the bottom of the barrel by any means, but we rank 8th statewide at an average for professionals of $61,620. The previous year we were 11th. If you remember, I mentioned it just a few minutes ago that we did give a state or across the board pay raise. The state pay raise, of course, brings everybody equally up the chain. Our professional pay raise last year was just a little over 1,000 to professionals, so it did move us from 11th in the state to number 8 in the state. And service, professional educator, a starting teacher's salary, same as the prior year's $46,590. And that again is a teacher with an AB or a bachelor's degree. I've actually looked at this slide and I'm thinking, what am I talking about? 4 years? It should be 0 years. I meant a 4-year degree, so that's an AB 0 is how we look at it on the pay scale. Service, we moved from 12th to 1st in service salary, and I'll tell you the reason why. We went to $40,050 for service. Again, we gave a $3,500 across the board pay raise. The state pay raise for service last year was about $1,400, I think. So we increased service $2,100 above the state. So it definitely lifted our service employees, our, that's bus drivers, custodians, cooks, highly critical positions, for us, and to be able to attract bus drivers and all that. Again, average salary $40,000. Some of the starting service salaries, cook starts at $31,000, bus operator $32,000, a custodian, which is a 240-day employee, is $33,600, and instructional aide at $32,600. Positions to consider. I don't know that it's even really consider that. We'll have to have, I believe, a 4th grade at Borman and a 2nd grade at Sistersville Elementary, just because of the numbers. I leave this slide in here because, again, the last few years we've added a lot of positions over the last few years, whether it's athletic trainer, additional interventionists, additional music, additional art, things like that. Again, this budget is very bare bones, no increases. So our employee numbers, honestly, when we look at the over formula at the end of next year, our numbers should be, relatively flat. We shouldn't really be jumping, a lot of positions. We're not adding positions. We're not really decreasing positions either. We're just kind of trying to remain flat for 26. Notable items, these are things that have been going on for a while. You know, Tyler County Schools provides instructional supplies, all instructional supplies, and hygiene supply. Not all hygiene supplies. Don't buy everybody soap, and we would if they needed it. We do cover all class dues, and field trips are covered by the Board of Education now. So all field trips used to, you know, the parents would have to raise money, or they would like if the kids were going to go to the NASA Science Center or something, and it was $18 to get in for that. What used to happen in the past years ago, you know, we would send home a note and say, hey, send $20, $25 for your kid. We're going to cover that'll cover the ticket into the thing and pay for the lunch. And so we are trying to help parents, you know, with instructional supplies, the field trips. We do meals for all staff and students. Effective 2023 staff includes meals. And I'm going to talk about meals here in a little bit when I get to the child nutrition part. We try to limit fundraisers at schools. The principals will tell you I'm anti-fundraiser guy. I don't like fundraisers, especially begging money. Absolutely, begging money is an absolute no-no. And if I hear of it, then, you know, I put a stop to it, because the tax position that we're in, to me, it sets a very bad example. If I go to Mr. Weiss and say, hey, will you donate $500 to the FFA for the national, you know, FFA convention, I don't like it. We're not in a position that we need to do that. And we're in a small community, and being in a small community, businesses get hit hard by people in fundraisers. However, they still do fundraisers. They do the meat sticks and the oranges and the poinsettias, and if you're selling a product, it's okay. You know,
That's
it's
also
okay.
car washes too.
Car wash, yeah. It's providing a service, or it's providing, but just to flat out go out and bum money, I'm totally opposed to it. If you hear of it going on, let me know, because, you know, it does happen. I mean, you know, coach or something will send teammates out or teams out to, you know, it does happen, but it is frowned upon. We do provide state and national academic trips. We've always really funded state and national trips, you know, students going to the FBLA, National FBLA or TSA.
All that, I'd like to be a chaperone on that trip.
We have always encouraged, I mean, you know, for years, 25 years ago, we still, out of Step 7 funds, we typically paid for the academic, because we want our kids to, a lot of times kids, you know, if they go on a national trip, they may never get out of West Virginia, and their time here in school is maybe the only time that they have to be able to do that. So we'll continue to do that and encourage that. All county residents are admitted to all events free of charge. That's not just athletic events, but that's you know, choir concerts, band concerts, and the like. And I do hear a lot of positive feedback, you know, especially from other counties, you know, people. We charge visitors, but other counties, you know, are impressed or whatever. And we're not the only county. I know Doddridge gets in to all events. I'm not sure other counties. We do run activity buses on both ends of the county. Again, the activity buses has been in place since Tyler Consolidated formed in 1993, and again, that's part of the excess levy is the activity buses. If you haven't seen the new gym floor, here's the new water the new water replaced gym floor that we've been won't say we've been lucky that we had a flood in there. If there is any silver lining in it, that floor was 30 years old, and they told us that it was at its last sanding. So it probably would have had to been replaced anyways. I hope the insurance company's not listening to the presentation. But nevertheless,
It's beautiful.
it is beautiful. It really looks sharp. Fund balance, Fund 51, Capital Projects Fund. I just wanted to kind of touch on where we are with capital project funding and where we're going. When we ended FY24, we had $29.2 million in the capital project fund. The present two projects that we have at Tyler Consolidated with the gym expansion and the greenhouse expansion is more than covered by the $29.2 million that ended in FY24. In FY25, this year that we're presently in, the budget called for $75 million to go to the capital project fund, and that, of course, will be used for the construction of the new elementary school. We do not believe that the new elementary school is not going to cost $75 million. The two present projects aren't going to cost $29 million. So we're carrying excess funds in the capital project fund. FY26, again, loss in taxes. The primary line item or the largest line item of decrease is the capital project transfer. We're blessed to have the funds to do that. Is $8.6 million. Again, right now we have really no plans for projects outside of I lied. We do have one project that I would like to see us move forward in 26. I'll mention here in a minute, but again, it's a small project in comparison to these. Construction projects, notable projects, gym expansion project, the greenhouse facility, the consolidated elementary school. The project that I would like to see us move forward, one really is this for safety and security of our students, is a new exterior door security project at Tyler Consolidated High School. And it's to replace all the door frames and electronic readers to make those, badge reader wired mold. If you looked at the doors were replaced in, I think, don't hold me to the number, like 2002. We had a door replacement project at Tyler Consolidated. It was the doors only. They're steel framed doors. Doors are, they're 30 years old. The hardware and stuff wears out on the doors. The frames themselves is what's really noticeable and really bad, especially if you look coming up on the back side of the building. With this new project, we're already going to go ahead. All the doors in the back of the building, when the new part of it, are all getting replaced. Aluminum frames and new doors. So this would replace all the frames and hardware on the existing doors. We haven't looked at a budget. We haven't looked at bidding or anything like that. But I estimate the project's probably about a $3 million project. So with your blessing and with the money that we're transferring in and the excess that we have in capital projects, I'm asking, I guess, your blessing to move forward on the
Keyword there is security.
Yeah.
And that's important.
Yeah. We have closure problems. Right now the doors don't shut the greatest. They swell, over time. They're really not, they're kind of unsightly at times. If you look at the ones, especially on the middle school side coming up the hill, the bottoms of the frames are just completely rusted out. There's holes through the frames. You can't, they say you can't put pig on a lipstick or you can't put lipstick on a pig. It's still pig, right? So.
Well, I think that would certainly be a good investment for us.
The access control and the security camera upgrades, we've done a lot of those just through natural maintenance. Actually, the access control, well, first of all, at all locations, we're not going to do anything at Borman and Sistersville. The exterior door project would take care of, at Tyler Consolidated, would include all, access control. Will give us, better equipment, more suited to those doors. The security camera upgrades, we've actually done a lot of that through our normal budget. We have, through the levy, we have security is in our levy call, and we've done a lot of the security camera upgrades already. We're not going to do any upgrades to the elementary schools at this time. We'll just we'll continue. Special revenue fund. What the special revenue fund is just simply a grant type funded, like Title I, state special ed. 67% of it is made up of special projects. The 32% is the transfer from the general fund for the child nutrition portion of it. Really anything that has a restriction on a grant, it's tracked in Fund 61 when we're in the special revenue fund. Any money that you see in that fund really is, 100% restricted by the grant that it has. These small allocations, professional development, these are statewide allocations or mandated amounts. $5,100 for professionals and $2,100 in service. That's based on 1% of step 1 of the funding formula, and that's a pittance amount. We're spending far greater than $7,000 on professional development, a year. We're spending, well in excess of that for professional development of our staff. School bus replacement. Several years ago, they took it out of the restriction part of the funding formula. However, again, we don't receive state aid. We're continuing to purchase additional buses. I believe I have 3 buses in the budget for FY26. Because of our funding, we've been blessed with having, a very, very updated fleet. Again, if you go to counties that don't have an excess levy or low assessed values, the age of their fleet is extremely diminished. Extremely diminished. If you go to, we've actually, a lot of counties, when we get rid of the surplus buses that we're getting rid of, when you approve those declaration of surplus property, we're giving those buses or selling those buses to, those counties that, that don't have. Faculty Senate is a state allocation. It's $400 per teacher allocation for the present year. Again, it's based on every teacher receives $400 from us for Faculty Senate. $47,528. Special education state, $57,000, $58,000. Quarter of it's for special ed director, and then the rest of it is just for physical therapy and OT, PT services. Title I is based on free and reduced need. All these federal allocations have continued to decrease year over year over year. Next year's allocation, $386,590. There's been a lot of talk about federal funding, and it's probably the best time to talk about it. Federal funding expected from the state, hearing from the state, is that there will be no change in FY '26. Those allocations had already been kind of set in stone, but we don't know in FY '27 what's going to happen. From all indication that we hear, is that they're cutting on the U.S. Department of Education side, and they're going to funnel the money, straight to the state instead of having the oversight from the federal government side. So some thought is that those allocations, won't see a significant decrease at the local level. However, there have been, many different programs talked of cuts in many different programs, and I'll mention the child nutrition. I didn't talk about it since I'm talking about it. The child nutrition program is, they're talking about the CEP option, which is for us where every child eats free. I've had several people say, well, the levy, we say in the levy that all kids eat free and that the federal government's paying for that. That's partially true, but only partially, because the federal government's only paying for a portion of it. We still have a local share, local match that we have. It doesn't provide funding for everyone. It'd be nice if it did, but the amount of money that we use to balance the budget, or basically make it total, was about $500,000 last year, and that $500,000 is what comes out of the levy, is that local share piece. If we didn't have a levy, would we be able to afford, all children to eat free? Would we have to, because the CEP, the thought is that CEP is going to go away. Or the numbers are increased for CEP, that Tyler next year would have had only one school eligible for CEP instead of all four. Had that held true, I believe our numbers would have increased by about another 300,000. So we would have had, $800,000 in.
So when you're talking CEP, is that essentially free and reduced the way it used to be done?
Yeah, kind of, because it was like it's the direct certified kids. And right now, no kids, they don't have to do the applications, and that Mrs. Kimball could talk about it a lot better than I can. But the kids, right now, parents don't have to fill out applications. It's based on free and reduced poverty numbers, yes, and where you fall and whether you can offer free meals or not free meals. And they're changing that guideline, and they're going back to requiring an application.
Okay.
So now we're going to have to require application, and according to Mrs. Kimball, the amount of work that was going to be, passed down to us to do those applications is huge. Yeah. I think it's like income verifications, maybe monthly or something like that. I mean, it almost, honestly, maybe a whole staff member, clerical staff member for us to even manage, the paperwork or the applications for that. So again, I talked to the finance guy side of the child nutrition, because when I was preparing the budget, by all indication from Ms. Kimball was that we really need to look at that, and it's kind of on hold right now. So budget for us is just normal. We're operating normal on child nutrition, and you'll see the numbers here in a little bit. But again, it probably would have meant about at least a $300,000 increase cost-wise to us if it does change, and it will be devastating to small rural counties that that don't necessarily meet exact poverty guidelines. Like Wood County is probably a good example. your Calhouns, Clays, Wirtz, counties like that, it's probably not going to affect them a whole lot. But the larger counties that like Wood County, it would dramatically affect them. Any county like that, and it would us as well. Title II is recruitment retention funds, professional development money. It used to have up to 50% in employees, but it's not. This is an allocation that is, oh my goodness, this one was probably $200,000 or better when I started here. It's $52,000, and it's primarily used for professional staff development. When I said we're spending far greater, I think $20,000 is in tuition reimbursement, and the remainder is in professional staff development. Federal special ed, IDEA, is $396,000. It's 100% of our allocation is for salaries that we receive from the federal government. Preschool special needs, very, very small allocation, $20,000. Doesn't provide for about 0.19 of a special preschool special needs teacher. Again, 100% of it is in salaries and benefits. And there's the picture of Mrs. Weiss, or not Mrs. Weiss, Mrs. Hoover. Mrs. Hoover is in this.
I bet she's watching tonight.
Yeah, I hope you're watching, Mrs. Hoover. There's your picture. Mr. White would always comment and say, "There's Mrs. Hoover."
No, but Mr. Wyatt.
Mr. White would always say, "There's Linda plucking the turkey or whatever." Again, we do offer free meals to all Tyler County children and all staff. Our current participation, still good numbers. These are actually increased from last year. We have 47% of our students eat breakfast, 76% eat lunch, and then I already talked about the CEP federal government changes. Revenue-wise, the child nutrition program is, almost a $2 million program now with the cooks, and majority of that is a lot of it is federal money. You do see that the interfund transfer is $864,000. Typically doesn't take us $864,000, but based on the budget, we're budgeting that large of a transfer. Here's the expense side of it. $872,000 is based on labor, $650,000 in food. Ancillary part, not a lot, $138,000 in repair service, other supplies and machinery, $121,000 for kitchen equipment and that. FY24 contribution, again, $524,000. What was the actual contribution in 24? Last year's budget, $989,600. Because of the reduction in the levy, that's why the reduction of the county contribution for FY26. That's it. Again, in my opinion, there's really no frills, no big increases. We're kind of just, we're just kind of steady the ship here, see where we go. We don't have big increases, big changes. For employees, nothing.
Just our school, our new school.
Yeah, which we've already got. We're about to, bird in the hands. We've got the bird in hand. We've got the funds secured, and we're gonna draw interest. We're gonna continue to invest the best I can see, legally fit to invest and earn interest on that money, and we'll be in good shape.
That's good. Does anybody have any questions for Jeff?
Very good as usual.
So much.
Thank you. You're welcome. Mr. Weiss, you have any questions?
It's been very informative, Jeff. I'm glad I attended.
Yeah. Glad you came.
Well, if you look at anything and decide you have any questions, you can always get in touch with Mr. Davis, and I'm sure he'd answer them for you.
It's nice we could help the extension and the libraries, especially with some of the,
Yeah. I do want to bring up one thing, Jeff, just for your consideration. I'm not sure what the situation is between technical schooling for the students in Tyler County with the PRT or whatever's going on. But my understanding is they're only taking a certain percentage of the applicants from Tyler County now. I know of a huge number of them. I've heard that only 7 out of 17 applicants were approved for the welding courses last year. I don't know what it is this year, but I know my own daughter Savannah is applying to go to the school down there, and is contingent upon being accepted. And my understanding was when this was designed, that all Tyler County students that wanted to attend technical school had the opportunity to do so. But we've got a tremendous number of them now being deprived of that. Well, they're not going to go to college. If they're not going to go to technical school because they're not allowed to, what the heck are they going to do?
Yeah, I'm actually not aware that that is an application.
It's
I know we are.
There's some change, some difference there.
I wonder if it's because of the faculty, number of faculty they have down there, they can handle so many. You know, you're on the,
Yeah, and I can't honestly answer that. Dr. Hart does a great job. It's dealing with a lot, as it's Richie is, lots of students.
Well,
Lots of
we
students.
need to provide for all of our students, is what I'm saying. So if there's something that can be corrected there, well, we need to address that
Yeah,
problem.
we definitely will check into it. We are.
I talked to Pam Stalling. She's the one that told me about it. I had Savannah down there for plans for the next year. They said, well, it depends whether you're accepted or not.
I know we are participating now in Wetzel Career Technical, and I know they've added some additional programs that we're sending.
Theirs is by application as well.
Is that
Yes.
right?
do we have welding there also?
I don't know. I don't know what.
But I don't know.
Welding, nursing, and
I don't
chef.
know if we participate in that. I think,
That we do not participate
no,
in
the only
welding.
thing we participate in are the things that we can't get
That's
at
correct.
off time.
Oh, okay.
That's correct. Yeah, we do. I think they're doing a Pro Start, and Ms. Kimball could tell you better what programs we
Yeah,
do
she would.
at those schools. I mean, I know we have, we have a lot of vocational programs here in the county too. They're not programs that necessarily we do have an increase in, we added a additional ag teacher, year before last, I think, when Devin Fox came. So we do have more programs like that. There are going to be some changes to Mrs. Stewart's program. They're going to change what's available for kids with that vocational program. But we'll gladly
Check into that if you would, because when I heard only 7 out of 17 applicants were accepted into the welding, that caused some concern. And I know several students that have worked for me they don't know whether they're going to be able to get in or not.
I honestly, for years I always thought, that everybody that, wanted to go to MOB-type PRT went.
I wasn't aware of it until this year when
I was not.
Savannah in, so.
I think when you've got that many schools going there, I would say
Right.
with the change in the way people look at technical school now, they probably get a huge amount of applicants, but I would think, I don't know.
Equal share.
Yeah.
I guess they probably can't maybe.
But are we funding part of that down there?
Yes.
Well, if we're funding it, all of our students should get in.
We fund, it's proportionate.
Yeah, we don't fund it all. I
Right,
mean, all the other counties fund it too.
It's based on enrollment, whatever their total budget is, and let's say there's 100 kids and we're sending 50, then we're paying 50% of the budget. We're not paying, we're much, much smaller than Pleasance County. Pleasance and Ritchie pay the lion's share of that multi-cost just because their enrollment is much higher.
Okay.
Our budget's 80, it's only about 90,000 a year.
So it's
is what
based
we're-
on how many students we have going there.
Correct.
Per head, I forget what that is per head.
Yeah, I don't know.
Changes.
But we're paying like between 80 and 90,000 a year is what our
Work it out so all the students have access to it. That's the way it was intended. And you certainly have ample funds to do that with if it's only costing that minimal amount.
It might not be the funds.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it might not be the funds.
I don't know, but if you all check into it.
Yeah, we'll check in.
Appreciate it. I know several parents are concerned about whether their students are gonna be able to get in or not, besides me.
And maybe shouldn't say it, maybe if we can't get, I don't know why we couldn't send kids to Wetzel for welding if they'll allow us
I
to.
could never understand that. I
You
don't.
know, if
they were
there's only
close,
7 to 17 and we got 10 left, could those,
Yeah.
could 10 or 5 go to Wetzel
Yeah.
and you got
Never
fewer?
understand that.
That's a good question. We'll definitely
They would-
try to look into it.
Appreciate
see
it.
if we can-
Okay, well, I would say if nobody else has any questions, the next regular meeting will be held Monday, May 5th at 7 o'clock at Tyler Consolidated Auditorium. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Andy
Andy
made
can
the
have it all
motion.
second.
Diana's second that. All those in favor say aye. Aye. The time is 8:24.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks. I didn't fall asleep.
That's good.
You too. Good week.
My wife wouldn't want to come to this for that amount of money.
I'm right there with her.
County class at college.
Years I will talk like that. She's like, "Oh, brother, I feel sorry for
Sorry,
her."
Larry.
Well, thanks for the binder.
Yes, thank you very much.
See everybody Monday. Thank
You want Scott's
Jeff.
stuff?
Yeah,